All right, folks. Ironman Wales got a little guest visiting us today. It's 3 weeks now since Ironman Wales, and I'm not sure I'm quite over it yet. So the week before, I went to the oxygen clinic the weekend before in Stoke, and then I sort of had a taper week, which was lovely, but it was quite stressful as well. You know, there's a lot of packing and just making sure you've not forgot anything, you know, silly things like my ID, you know, things that you just forget. I also decided on like Wednesday before the race that I needed a new pair of trainers. No, that wasn't good timing, but maybe a week before, the hole came through at the end of my trainers, and they've stopped selling the type of trainers that I wear. So I then thought, I'm going to have to get a different pair. But having spoken to Maria very kindly at Running Bear, she advised me that a brand new pair of trainers was not a good idea to run a marathon. And so she managed to find me a pair online of the exact same shoe that I'd got, but it didn't arrive until like the day before the race. So that probably was a little bit stressful and didn't need to be, but that was my own fault. So I went down with the Dales, Karen, who did the race with me, and her family on the Friday morning. We were down there for dinner time, and do you know what? It was the least stressful weekend of a race that it could have been, in the sense that we got down there on dinner time on Friday. So Friday afternoon, we went and registered. We looked around the merch, obviously, we had to get things from there. We went down to the sea. The weather was quite nice. We got in the sea. We saw a jellyfish on the beach. That wasn't great. We got in the sea with no wetsuit on. That gave me a lot of confidence that it was going to be fine temperature-wise on Sunday. The only thing is I've struggled a lot with panic attacks in the open water, and it's been something I've worked on really hard since my first race in 2016. And long course weekend earlier in the year was the first race that I've ever done, maybe Outlaw in May, where I felt like I probably got over it, you know? So I was feeling pretty confident going into this, but on that swim on the Friday night, we were just having a little potter about, me and Karen were, and somebody shouted something, and someone with rational fears, I understand what they probably shouted was, hey, your stuff's getting wet, because it was. We left our stuff on the beach and the tide came in. But my brain said, they said shark. So obviously I had a major freak out, which yes, did then happen on race morning. But anyway, Saturday, super chill, went out, tested the bike, worked, went down into Tenby, set everything up, wrapped transition, never been more organised. Friday night, packed everything up, took it down Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon was so chill. I just sat in the caravan, read my book, I watched some telly, I just proper chilled out, and I ate well, I drank plenty of water. I couldn't have been more prepared. I'd been off caffeine all week, so I was buzzing for my cup of coffee on Sunday morning. And then the horrendous weather forecast that they'd given out was starting to look better, and I was getting excited until about 2:30 in the morning. So for anyone who's done racing before, you'll know that you don't sleep the night before. But, I went to bed early, I did everything right. Obviously couldn't sleep, it was about 11 o'clock and I was still staring at the ceiling. Finally dozed off, and at 2:30, it was like the shower had been turned on outside. And in a caravan, it's a lot louder. That's funny. It's a lot louder than it is anywhere else. So I just could not sleep. It was loud, and I was just thinking, oh my God, what if it is doing this on my bike tomorrow? So luckily this wasn't the case. It lasted about 45 minutes and it stopped. The only thing that meant was my alarm went off at 3:30. So I just about drifted back off into what you would call probably a nap when my alarm went off to get up and have breakfast. 3:30 alarm, get up, get ready, have my usual 3 Weetabix, sugar, toast. What are you doing, man? Have my usual 3 Weetabix and toast, and then we met with the Dales. We're in a caravan across the way from us. We went down to the race start, met Rich and Zoe down there. And so, I felt super organised. We were down there in plenty of time. We didn't struggle parking. I checked my bike over. Everything was good, nutrition on it. Got my new trainers and my transition bag. And the weather was holding off, and actually as it started to come light, because obviously it was dark when we went into transition, it started to look like it might be quite a nice day. The atmosphere at the start line was fantastic. The Welsh national anthem, and then of course Thunderstruck came on, the song obviously, and I felt really good. and I'd been chatting to people in the pen. I was feeling confident. I thought, I've done this. I know it's not that cold. Let's do it. And then I just ran in the water and had a massive panic attack, and probably spent the first 500 meters of the race doing breaststroke, desperately trying not to cry. And failing, to be honest. Also, having spoke to a lot of people, it wasn't just me. It was possibly one of the worst swim conditions ever. It really didn't look that bad from the beach, but there was just a massive current coming in. The weight, it was choppy. It was chaos. It felt busy. But after about 500 meters, I started to, I'm not even going to say settle in, because that is not the word that I would use to describe what I was doing. But I was swimming rather than just floating in a general forward direction. By the second loop, I actually felt quite comfortable, and I thought, right, I've really settled into this. And I had a pretty good second loop. Came out of the water. Actually, not that bad. I was sort of, I don't know, top 80 out of the women or something. I was a bit mad about that. I was mad about my time. I come out in 1 hour 25:11. I was hoping for under 1:15. So I was pretty mad. So the transition's about a kilometre. So I ran the transition. I was mad. Ran up, put my shoes on, ran the K through town. And I was just trying not to go mad. I was thinking to myself, I know you crossed, but just stay calm and try not to burn yourself out on this, silly little run. So I tried to stay calm. I doused myself in water. I got all chafing on my neck, because that always seems to happen for some reason in the sea, no matter how much Vaseline or whatever I put on, because I did douse it. I was covering myself in water to try and get the salt and the sand off me. Went into transition, super efficient. Came out sort of 42nd, I think. I came out of transition out of the women, so I really did a good job there. Headed off on the bike. Had a fantastic ride, actually, even if I do say so myself. Was trying to make the most of it, trying to enjoy it. I'd done all my maths wrong, so in my brain I was way off target, but that's beside the point. I just tried to enjoy myself. I'm smiling in every picture on photo pic and printer pics, whatever they're called. I'm smiling in the videos. I'm smiling. I loved it. I really did love it. I loved the bike. I ate well. I ate properly. I was well hydrated. And I feel like I got everything right. I was, for the first time, me and my bike got on. We were having a great ride. No mechanicals. Second loop, Heartbreak Hill was phenomenal. Like, crying at the top, phenomenal. It was ridiculous. Just the people screaming, and it just feels amazing. You feel like a celebrity for 5 minutes. It's fantastic. And it was actually the same second time round, which really surprised me, because I thought everyone would have gone to the run. But luckily, the top of Saundersfoot, the top of Heartbreak Hill, is probably only half a mile walk to the or maybe a mile walk to the very end of the run course. So I think a lot of people were staying. There was also a guy playing guitar and singing on his own, which was really cool. And it was just a phenomenal experience. Loads of the towns, as we went through, like, I think Narberth and Lamprey, and there's loads of the towns. Spectators were just in force everywhere. The volunteers were phenomenal. The atmosphere was just great. I really, really loved the bike. So with about 40 miles to go, the rain came. And it was weird, because we were riding into areas where it was wet on the ground, but it hadn't rained on me. So I knew it was coming, or it had been, so there was rain floating about. Chatting to people who were in town, who were spectating, chatting to my family and that, they said that it didn't rain until we were pretty much coming in off the bike, but I'd been wet for about 40 miles. Dropped down into Tenby, realised my time was better than I thought it was, just broke under 7 hours. Good transition, 3.5 minutes, pretty happy, set off on the run. And you know what? For the first time ever, the videos of me coming out, I think, I look all right there. I didn't feel phenomenal, but I don't think you ever do. It's always a bit confusing coming out. You've been in this weird position for so long on your bike, and then suddenly you're up and you're running, and it's a bit of messing with your head. Now, I'd struggled a bit with my belly on the bike. I think I just swallowed so much water in the swim, because I was flapping around and it was so choppy that I just felt like really bloated and really quite painful. But it's okay when you're on your bike, I think. You're in this like tucked up position, and I'd sort of managed to keep it at bay. But of course, heading out on the run, I was like, oh God, yeah, I've got bellyache. But self-running, I felt all right. And after about, a mile, I thought, oh, I'm into this now. And it's at about a mile that you hit the climb, which lasts for probably a mile and a half. Really long drag, really quite steep at the bottom, sort of flattening off and going again. You go up to the top, dead U-turn, come back, and then you sort of turn off, back uphill again, drop down, you get your wristband, say, well done, you've completed a lap, even though you haven't yet. You come back on yourself and rejoin the loop and head back down the road you've just come up. Now, going down actually isn't as nice as you think it should be, because it's a different set of muscles, great, but it's really quad heavy running downhill. So I can't say that I felt particularly great running downhill, and I was sort of trying to drink at the aid stations, but I got this really bad belly ache, and I was trying to eat things, but I know I didn't eat enough. I know that for sure, but I just felt like I just hadn't quite got the capacity to do it, and that was my mistake, which I bitterly paid for. After about 11 miles, I thought, I'm really starting to not feel that good. Up until then, I've been feeling great. I've been running pretty much, my target pace, a little bit quicker, but I suppose that was the way that it was always going to go. I was really happy about it. About 11 miles, I thought, oh no, I'm starting to fall apart here. I thought, I know, I'll go to an aid station and I'll grab some food. This was probably 12 miles in town. I'm going to take a minute because I'd gone really lightheaded. I felt really quite sick, and I thought, I'm going to faint here. So I thought, I'm going to get to this aid station, I'm going to eat something, I'm going to eat some of the crisps, I'm going to have one of the energy bars, I'm going to take on water, I'm going to take on some Coke, and I'm just going to have them in. And that was the first time I was sick on the run, the first of 4. I felt better for having eaten, in the sense that the shakes had gone, the lightheadedness had gone, but now, of course, I was starting to feel quite sick. So I set off running again, and I sort of held on pace till about 28k, and that's where I really started to fall by the wayside a little bit. I was I think I was about 27th, 24th even, coming in off the bike, out of the winning. And after about 27k, I was hanging on to top 30 still, and I just faded away fast. That last sort of 15k was not okay. I didn't walk. I walked aid stations. I walked once because I got cramp. I stopped to fix my shoelace because I only had 6 kilometres to go, but that little niggle that had been bothering me for the last 36k just couldn't wait any longer because I'd lost my patience. I'd sort of lost my sense of humour, I suppose. And as I, went through town that last time, for some reason, or rather no reason at all, my knee just started to hurt and I just could not pick it up. And I thought, what is happening here? So I sort of dragged my sorry leg behind me for about 2k. But as soon as I started going up the hill, it started to pate a little bit. I don't know whether it was the downhill running and the cobbles through town and the water. It's just unnecessary. And you speed up a bit through town because there's so many spectators there. You're just trying to, you're pushed on by it. But for some reason, that I just had to drag that behind me for a K or 2k or whatever. Up the climb. By the time I got to the very top of it, I knew I had 6k to go. And I thought, right, most of it is downhill. You can do this. And I did. I shuffled and it wasn't pretty, but I was still moving. And I ended up finishing 13 hours, 31 and some seconds. And I wanted sub 14. Realistically, under 13:30 would be nice. But to get where I did, given the swim that I'd had, I thought my day was over before it even started. So I was chuffed to bits, really. I was even more chuffed to bits the next morning when I got my Kona place. So, if you want to follow along, next year we're going to Hawaii. Next year's going to be a pretty big year now. I was going to Roth, which I was buzzing about. I've already told you guys I was going to Roth, but now I'm going to Kona as well. I've now got to prepare for 2 Ironmans, 2 big Ironmans as well. So it's very exciting. I've got a friend going as well. Now it's just working out logistics, how I'm going to pay for it, where I'm going to stay. And people have been amazing for telling me, advising me on places to go and what to do when you get there, how long before to go. So anybody who's been, please feel free to drop me a message and give me any tips or any advice that you would suggest on what to do. Same for Roth as well. I'm completely open to suggestions on where to stay, what to do, what to make the most of while I'm there. But all in all, I slayed the dragon. And for anyone that has been following along, Karen really was not confident about whether she was going to finish it or not. And she did, easily. So, hour and a half to spare, plus. So, 2 finishes, 2 very happy people on Sunday night, 2 very sore ones on Monday morning. So, while this sort of vlog was the road to Ironman Wales, I feel like it would be rude to stop now, when this is now going to be the road to the Ironman World Championships next year. So, see what damage we can do.